Hello, welcome to Scott's Odyssey. While I was driving along Route 22 in Duncansville, Pennsylvania, just outside of Altoona in Blair County, saw an odd stone bridge, and I decided I have to stop over and see what this stone bridge is all about. First I thought, it's just an old stone bridge, but upon getting here, made the realization it's not any stone bridge. Welcome to the Skew Arch Bridge of the Allegheny Portage Railroad. See you in a minute. Welcome back. If you've watched my videos before, I hope this particular video gives you more information about the Skew Arch Bridge of the Allegheny Portage Railroad. If you're new, welcome aboard. Please take a moment to click subscribe and like this video. Also hit the little notification bell. That way I can continue bringing you stories of who we once were. It only takes a click, costs you nothing, and will give you endless adventures in return. I happened to bring my daughter along for this particular adventure, and she brought her boots. Apparently she's enjoying her little bit of okey-finoki in the swamp base here. Oh my gosh. She's decided that whenever she comes on these adventures, she must wear her muck boots. You lose a boot, if you do, you're coming out on your own. Wet foot and everything. There are many stone bridges that have stood the test of time throughout Pennsylvania. But this one holds a special place in the heart of history because of what it did and what it was. Back in the early 1800s, the infamous Allegheny Portage Railroad was not a railroad in the conventional sense. Many people do not realize that this particular railroad consisted mainly of inclined planes that pulled cars up hills with a stationary steam engine using a large wheel and rope and later wire rope cables. Usually the cargo would be offloaded from the canal boat onto a rail car, and once it made it to Johnstown, it would go back onto a canal boat. Believe it or not, there were many occasions where a sectional canal boat would actually be loaded directly onto the incline. There were a handful of actual mobile locomotive engines which outperformed the mules that pulled the canal cargo, but not by much. The locomotives that were used on the few level planes of track moved at a whopping 15 miles per hour. At this location, we have the site of Inclined Plane 6. This was the center and heart of Portage Railroad activity. This inclined plane crossed over one of the oldest east-west wagon highways, Route 22, which now splits around this site. On July 15th in 1832, J. Fenlon, A. Darlin, J. Darlin, and R. Kinnamouth were awarded the contract to build a stone bridge for Route 22 to cross over Inclined Plane 6. The bridge was built according to contract, but had one problem. This portion of Route 22 was the part that allowed passage through the Appalachian Mountain Trails. Granted, this was only one way to do it. But the other four ways were located in Piedmont, Georgia, the Cumberland Gap where Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee converge, the Cumberland Narrows in Maryland, and the Hudson River up to and through the Great Lakes. Because this bridge was built perpendicular to the inclined plane of rails that were straight as an arrow, it caused a situation where this portion of Route 22, which was already a slight left turn that led into a tighter right turn for the Blair Gap, could no longer be navigated by wagon. The inclined rails used to go straight out this way, down into that chasm of the Blair Gap. Then it went straight up that hill to the powerhouse for the incline. The addition of the bridge now added a right angle turn to the left that immediately became a right angle turn to the right. Now, you would normally think that this is not a big deal. A little zigzag never hurt anyone, right? Well, in the 1820s through the 1830s, we're not talking a single horse or a short fruit cart when we say wagons. We are talking about wagons that were unbelievably heavy, going up and downhill, being drawn by 6 or even 10 horses. So this would be the equivalent of trying to get a modern day 18-wheel big rig to make a left turn at 90 degrees and a right turn at 90 degrees before you've even finished the length of the vehicle passing through the first 90-degree turn. Needless to say, for that short period of time, the bridge essentially shut down the east-west passage, which is exactly what Pennsylvania was trying to avoid in the first place. Let me know in the comments below if you have sites like this that are around you that are forgotten or abandoned. That way, I can come out and visit it, and I'll get you the story on it. Doesn't matter what it is. Send me a comment, send me an email. My information and research is limited only by the information that people don't share. Help me break through this barrier to tell the story of who we once were. In 1833, the construction of the bridge was undone, at least more than half of the bridge. And aside from the cost, the bridge was rebuilt to accommodate both the road and the rails equally. Each stone was cut individually to account for extremely difficult angles in order to permit the straight line of the incline and the curve of Route 22, creating this incredible oblique arch. The Public Works, or the main line of Public Works, is referring directly by name to a package of legislation that supported a vision of intercommunication, as they called it, but we would now refer to it as transportation, which was passed in 1826. At that time, it included a canal system and roads as well as the railroad system in the form of inclined planes that pulled the rail cars over the Allegheny Mountains. The implementation of actual steam engine locomotives was not added until 1852, after it was determined to be too costly to keep the canals operational from Columbia to Pittsburgh.